Some might say the election has been the most normal part of 2020. Others would argue that it has been the most unusual part yet. But numbers of Americans have questions and concerns overall, which is why I sought insight from Troy University's political science professors on a historic election.
Given that it's 2020, everything was so different this year, and obviously with the pandemic and the way in which the elections occurred, and the fact that we had record-breaking voter turnout and we had record-breaking early voting. I mean, this election has been vastly different from elections in modern history and historically generally.
It's a fairly historical election in the sense that it is an incumbent president losing to a challenger. That doesn't happen that often. It last happened when Bill Clinton beat George H.W. Bush back in the 90s and when President Reagan beat President Carter back in 1980. Normally, it's more common for presidents to be reelected 2 terms. President-elect Biden's margin of victory, at least in the popular vote, is relatively high for a challenger.
And American history wasn't just made at the polls. It was made in the Oval Office and historically in our American democracy, which Professor Taylor finds concerning.
One of the important parts of American democracy, which is unusual, is that we have had an unbroken chain of peaceful transfers of power since George Washington. It is incumbent upon leaders to follow the established rules and to also help inculcate trust in those rules if that trust is warranted. And if there's no evidence, then the trust is warranted. For the president to make claims of which there's no evidence, I would argue is a very unfortunate and very problematic behavior that is going to lead to a lot of people doubting the electoral system. And if we doubt the electoral system, we doubt the free and fair election process, this starts to erode democratic trust.
Concerns aside, the professors wanted to inform viewers to remain calm and find trust within our democracy as well as its processes.
Trust the process, know that we have a legal process in place. We have a process under federal law and we have a process under the Constitution, and those are all being followed.
What we as Americans in general need to do is understand that when elections have winners and losers. We've all voted for people that have won and we've voted for people that have lost, and it can be frustrating and disappointing. That the reality is we all voted, the votes have been counted or being counted still in some cases, and there's every reason to suggest that this was an appropriate process.
Xada Ingram, Troy, TrojanVision News.